Hey everyone, Joy David here. This is a long-term video review of the Asus TUF A17 that I bought a few months back. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the design and build. Well, here's the thing. This one is actually a gaming laptop, so you are not expecting it to have any certain kind of design elements. Everything is game-ready looking, but without RGB. That's the point, because you are buying it at a cheaper price. So you can't really expect the RGB lighting everywhere, except there is one place where you're gonna find RGB lights, and that is the keyboard. Now this is only one zone lighting, which is still fine. I mean, you're not expecting more than that, but overall, the whole laptop looks amazing, but nothing crazy though. Now in terms of build quality though, mine one is being a 17-inch laptop, it's definitely heavy. But one thing is that the build quality wise, the plastics are not that cheap. Now I have seen some cheapest plastic, like the scratchy cheap plastic on many laptops, but this one isn't that. This one has pretty good plastics and the look and feel amazing, and there is certain kind of texture which I'm not a fan of because of fingerprints. It's a slightly different kind of texture which Asus has kind of removed from the new generation Asus TUF series models, but these ones, these 2021 models, well, they have it. I mean, if you love it, it's fine. Now, one important thing though, if you are thinking of grabbing this Asus TUF, first and foremost, look at the logo at the back. If the logo is the older generation logo, don't go for that because they don't have vents properly done. These ones actually have good vents. That means the laptop stays pretty cool. I will come back to the specs and the performance, but yeah, that's one thing to note. Now, one thing is that because it is still based on the 15-inch model, the 15-inch TUF, Asus TUF A15, it is actually having the same keyboard layout and the same trackpad size. So even though it's a 17-inch model, there is still not a bigger trackpad or different kind of keyboard layout. No, it's not. It's still having the same keyboard, it's just the whole chassis is bigger. That's it. And the most notable thing of any gaming laptops nowadays is the sticker placements. Well, there were quite a bit of stickers on the laptop display as well as on the right beside the trackpad, but I've removed one. I've removed all of them probably. And I just only kept the Ryzen one. I mean, that makes sense. Now let's talk about the hinge, which is pretty important. Now the hinge is something that is not the best, but not the worst either. Because when you try to open it with one hand, you can, but you have to be very slow and gentle with it. Otherwise, it is not gonna work. This one specifically has the Ryzen 5 4600H processor, and the base clock speed is actually 3 GHz and it can go to 4 GHz, about 3.98 GHz or so. Now, as for the RAM though, mine one has 16 GB of RAM because I have installed another one. Usually it comes with a 3200 MHz 8 GB of RAM. So I have another one. Now it has 16 GB dual channel 3200 MHz RAMs. So that's actually good. Now, as for the SSD, there is a 512 GB SSD. Not the craziest fast SSD, nothing great about it, but nothing bad either. It does the job. Now, in my case, it is a 17.3-inch 1080p panel, IPS level display, which is still IPS, but they just can't say it because of the licensing fees, but it is still a good panel, but it's a 144Hz panel, so which is actually fantastic. Now, as for the graphics though, it has 1650. It was never gamer's favorite and neither it is for me, but I mean, at that price, you are not expecting anything crazy. I will come back to the performance. And just like every single gaming laptop, the ports will actually surprise you. There is the 3.5mm headphone jack, RJ45. There are 3 USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A port, 1 USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type-C port that supports display out, which is the best part of it. And then there is the one HDMI 2.0B. And there is a 720p HD camera at the front with a small LED notification for that. And the battery is actually 90 watt-hours, and don't expect really crazy battery out of it. Now, as for the upgradability though, now you can put another NVMe SSD to upgrade the storage if you want, but you can't really use the SATA SSD or even hard drives for that matter because there is not that much space inside. So now it's all about the performance. Well, performance wise, it's great if you are doing only productivity tasks, let's say Chrome browsing, OneNote, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, stuff like that. Even coding can be done on it easily. But if you're thinking something heavier like video editing, or even Blender rendering or 3D rendering, let's call it, those things will actually kind of make this laptop struggle a little bit more than you want. So if you're into anything like 3D rendering or anything like that, I would suggest you to go with at least 3060 laptops. But if you're thinking of video editing, which I am very good at, with 16GB of RAM, you can use Resolve pretty easily, and the best part is that the Resolve will edit your 2K videos pretty well. But as far as the 4K video editing is concerned, it will definitely gonna struggle. Even like previewing it at 1080p isn't even possible. It will drop so many frames that it is almost unusable. So if you're thinking of 4K editing, you have to create proxies to edit 4K videos. Yeah. So if you're thinking of rendering performance, well, my real life case is like this. If you have a 2K video for 17 minutes or so, it will take 25 to 30 minutes to export that video. And if you have a 4K video, then if it's 15 minutes, then it will take 30 minutes. Yeah, double that of the real time. And it's the same performance my M1 iPad Pro also gives with the same Resolve and the same project. So yeah, it's pretty good, but don't think of 4K footages without proxies. Not at all. Now, as far as the gaming is concerned, I only play 3 types of game. And one of them has to be the Sniper Ghost series, and the other 2 are Forza Horizon 5 and the Forza Horizon 4. All of them at 2K. And my 2K Ultra Game monitor is actually connected to the USB-C port. So that simply means it is connected directly to my NVIDIA GPU. So with these specific settings, at 1440p, it will give me 60 FPS constantly on Forza Horizon 4 if I only play on the 1440p monitor, which is connected via the USB-C cable. Now, why I'm mentioning that is that even if I play Forza Horizon 4 on the laptop plugged in, it will not give me anything better than 60 FPS because there is no mux switch. So if you have an external monitor, you connect it to the USB-C port, and bam, you will have better performance than you will even have on the laptop's display. Now, if you're thinking of the benchmarks, well, there is no point in doing it, but I'm gonna show you 1 or 2 benchmarks. That's probably it because I just don't really care. Real life performance is what I'm all about. Then as for the other stuffs, the speaker is almost disappointing. Now, why I'm saying it, because it's a 17-inch freaking laptop, so it should perform way better than my iPad Pro 11-inch model. And you guessed it, it doesn't. Now, the trackpad is something that I just want to say it's pretty good. And there is this 2 physical button. I don't know why that is the case, but some people might like it. I barely use them. I don't want to use them. But then again, they are there if you want that. And the same kind of thing goes for the keyboard. It's pretty good. I'm not saying it's the best keyboard, but I've seen quite a lot of worse keyboards even at the same price. This keyboard is actually freaking good. And the travel is good enough. And on top of that, there is RGB color. You can switch some modes in it, so which might give you like the floating color changing cycles or whatnot. I mean, good. But I have a massive complaint regarding the arrow keys on the keyboard. I mean, why they are that tiny? I mean, they are real tiny. I hate that on a gaming laptop more specifically. No, I don't like it. One thing is that there is only one USB-C port, and the USB-C port doesn't even support power delivery. But then again, it's still better because the IdeaPad gaming laptops at the same price will not give you even DisplayPort out. What? Now, as far as the battery is concerned, 4.5 hours of battery life on productivity task on the internal GPU. But for the charging though, it took only 1 hour 45 minutes to charge from about 8 to 9% to all the way 100%. And that's actually freaking good. And you can also limit the charging. Like in my case, I use it as a desktop replacement mostly. So most of the time, I don't even look at the screen, as you can see with the same setup. So it usually stuck to 60% only because that will keep the battery health high for a long time. So if you plug it in and put it in turbo mode, the performance is the best and I get only 60 FPS then. But if I unplug it and play it with the same settings in the same way, it will switch it to almost 30 FPS. But when I'm doing the same thing with the video rendering though, the difference between the rendering time isn't that much. And this is the similar kind of thing you will see with the dedicated GPU and the integrated GPU. The same kind of performance difference. Now, before jumping into anything else, I want to say one thing is that the 1650, because it was launched in 2019, is already kind of outdated GPU. I'm just saying it. It's not exactly outdated, but it's almost outdated. So if you're thinking of like a future secured laptop, don't even think about the 1650 laptops. Go with 3050 at the very least, or go with 3060 or anything better than that. The Wi-Fi performance on this one is equal to my iPad Pro's Wi-Fi performance. So definitely it's pretty on par with the standard ones. The display of its own is fine, but because I'm using it as a desktop replacement most of the time, I don't really look at the display, so I don't care about the display. So if you want to do anything color related work or anything like that, definitely buy a color accurate monitor. That will be a better experience. So even at the current pricing, I would say this is one hell of a good looking laptop with a great keyboard, good amount of ports, and a good enough display and capabilities. Definitely go for it. But only if your budget is that tight. Otherwise, straight out go buy a 3050 laptop at the cheapest. And yes, if you want, you can get some crazy cool wallpapers up on my website. Definitely visit my website, joindavid.com, link down below. So yeah, that's about it. Until the next one, bye and take care.